I picked up the box wrapped in plain paper and held it out to my daughter in the middle of her birthday party. Olivia opened it without meeting my eyes. Inside was a silver necklace with a locket engraved with our initials. I'd taken it from my savings. It was not gold or diamonds, but it was mine, for her. Olivia lifted it between her fingers as if it were trash. She frowned. Then, with a smile that chilled my blood, she said loudly for everyone to hear, "Cheap, ridiculous junk." I felt the floor disappear beneath my feet, but it was not the comment that destroyed me. It was what came next. My daughter threw the box against my chest. The necklace fell to the floor. No one moved. 50 people watching, some with glasses halfway to their mouths. Others looked down, uncomfortable. But no one said anything. Julian, her husband, let out a short, ironic laugh, as if I had just told a bad joke. He crossed his arms and looked at me with that contempt I knew so well. Olivia turned around and went back to talking with her friends as if I was not even there. I stood there in the middle of that crowded room. My breathing was controlled. My hands were not shaking. On the outside, I was calm. But inside, something broke. Something that had been cracking for years. I did not scream. I did not cry. I did not pick up the necklace from the floor. I just said, in a voice I did not even recognize, "That's fine. As of today, you're on your own." Olivia barely turned her head, wearing that bored expression she used when I spoke. "Oh, Mom, stop being so dramatic," she replied, not really looking at me. I nodded slowly. "It's not drama, Olivia. It's a decision." Julian looked at me for the first time all night. "What do you mean by that?" "I mean it's over," I said. "The financing for this house, the car you drive, the credit cards I pay every month, everything. It's finished." There was a brief silence. Then Olivia burst out laughing. "Sure, Mom. Whatever you say." She thought I was bluffing. She thought it was an empty threat from a wounded old woman trying to get attention. Julian smiled too, but there was something in his eyes, a small flicker of doubt. I did not wait for a response. I turned and walked to the door. My shoes clicked on the hardwood floor. No one stopped me. No one followed me. As I walked out of that house I had helped pay for, I heard the music start up again. The laughter returned. The party continued as if I had never been there. I got into my old sedan and closed the door. My hands gripped the steering wheel. I took one deep breath. 2, 3. I did not cry, because there were no tears left for her. On the drive home, I drove in silence. The streets were dark. It was almost 10 o'clock at night. I passed the bakery where I used to buy her cupcakes when she was little. I passed the park where I taught her to ride her bike. I passed the school where I worked double shifts to pay her private tuition. Every place was a memory, and every memory now hurt. I arrived at my small apartment downtown, a modest place, 2 bedrooms, old but clean furniture, nothing luxurious, nothing comparable to Olivia's house with its 3 floors and big backyard. I took off my shoes at the door. I turned on a single lamp in the living room. I sat on the sofa I'd had for 15 years and stared at the ceiling. I did not turn on the television. I did not reach for the phone. I just sat there, in the silence of my own home, and let everything that had just happened settle inside me. But not with sadness, with clarity. Because that night, in the middle of that public humiliation, something inside me woke up. Something that had been dormant for years. Something I myself had buried under layers and layers of sacrifice and misunderstood love. That night, I stopped being the mother who begged for scraps of affection, and I became the woman who was going to get her life back. I got up from the sofa and walked to my bedroom. I opened my desk drawer. I pulled out an old manila folder. Inside was every document I needed. Contracts, deeds, bank statements, receipts, wire transfers. For years I had been organized, meticulous. I saved everything, and now all of it was going to be useful. I sat down at my small wooden desk and started to review every paper. Olivia's house had been in my name until 6 months ago, when I finally got the bank to accept the change. But I was still the co-signer. I was still signing every month. The car was registered under my insurance. The additional credit cards they used were linked to my main account. They were living a life that I supported. And the worst part is, they did not even know it. Or worse, they knew, and they did not care. I took a deep breath and opened my old laptop. The screen flickered before turning on. I logged into my bank account. I reviewed the transactions from the last 6 months. Dinners for $200. Designer clothes. Trips to the beach. Spas. Salons. All charged to the cards I paid for. Meanwhile, I was eating canned soup and crackers. I bought my clothes at thrift stores. I had not taken a vacation in 5 years. I closed the laptop, not with anger, with determination. The next morning, I would start dismantling everything, piece by piece. That night, before bed, I looked in the bathroom mirror. I saw a 72-year-old woman, gray hair, wrinkles, tired hands. But I also saw something else. I saw someone who was still alive, someone who still had strength, someone who was no longer going to let herself be treated like garbage. I splashed cold water on my face. I put on my old nightgown and got into bed. The bed was cold. It always was. Ever since my husband died 20 years ago, this bed had been mine alone. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in a long time, I did not dream about my daughter. I dreamed about me. The next morning, I woke up at 6. As always, my body was used to waking up early after 50 years of work. I made a simple coffee and sat by the kitchen window. From there I could see the street waking up, the food trucks setting up their spots, the women sweeping their front steps. Life went on, just like every day. But for me, something had changed. I drank my coffee slowly and let my mind drift back, way back, to when it all began. To when Olivia was just a little girl with big eyes who hugged me every night before bed. I remembered the day she was born. I was 27 years old. Her father, Michael, was so nervous in the waiting room, he almost fainted when the nurse let him in. Olivia arrived crying loudly, her fists clenched, demanding attention from the very first second. And I loved her. My God, how I loved her. The first few years were hard, but beautiful. Michael worked at a factory. I worked part-time at a laundromat. We did not have much money, but we had enough. Olivia wore hand-me-downs from her cousins. She played with second-hand dolls. And she was happy. Then Michael died. It was an accident at the factory. A machine that was not calibrated right. A moment of carelessness. 1 second, my husband was there. And the next, he was gone. Olivia was 5 years old. I remember she did not understand why her daddy was not coming home. She asked me every night when he was coming back. I did not know what to tell her. I could barely breathe from the pain, but I had to be strong. I had to keep going, for her. I got a second job. I cleaned offices at night after working at the laundromat during the day. I slept 4 hours if I was lucky. Olivia stayed with my sister, Carol, while I worked. Sometimes I would not see her awake for days on end, but I kept going. Because that's what mothers do, right? They keep going. When Olivia turned 10, she started to change. She was not the sweet girl who hugged me anymore. She started comparing herself to her classmates at school. She started asking me why we did not have a new car like the Mesa family, why we could not go on vacations like the Salinas family, why her clothes were not name brand. I explained that we were doing the best we could, that money did not grow on trees, that we had the important things, health, a roof over our heads, food, but she did not listen. At 15, Olivia stopped inviting me to her school events. She said I embarrassed her, that my hands smelled like bleach, that my clothes were old, that her friends made fun of me. That hurt more than anything, but I justified it. I told myself it was just part of being a teenager, that she'd grow out of it. She did not grow out of it. When she finished high school, Olivia wanted to study fashion design at a private university. The tuition was $15,000 a year. I did not have that kind of money. But I got a loan. I worked extra shifts. I sold the few valuable things Michael had left me, and I enrolled her. Olivia was happy. For the first time in years, she hugged me. She said thank you. I thought things were going to get better between us. During the first semester, she called me often. She told me about her classes, her projects. I listened to every word like it was gold. I felt useful again. I felt like my sacrifice was worth it. But by the second semester, the calls became less frequent. By the third semester, we barely spoke. She only reached out when she needed money for materials, for outings. For new clothes, she needed to impress her professors. And I always said yes. Olivia graduated at 23. I was at her ceremony. I sat in the very back because she asked me not to sit up front. She said there would be professional photographers, and she preferred pictures just with her friends. I obeyed. After graduating, Olivia got a job at a boutique. It did not pay much, but it was a start. She rented a small apartment with 2 friends. I thought she was finally going to be independent. But she kept asking me for money. For the security deposit? For furniture? For the clothes she needed for work? And I kept giving. At 26, Olivia met Julian. He worked in luxury car sales, always wore expensive suits, always had his hair perfectly styled. He spoke with the confidence of someone who has never had to worry about money. The first time I met him, I knew something was not right. The way he looked at me, like I was something insignificant, something to be tolerated only because he had to. But Olivia was in love, or at least it seemed like it. They got married a year later. The wedding cost $30,000. I paid for half. Julian and his family paid the other half, but they made it very clear that their contribution was more generous, that they were doing us a favor. At the wedding, Olivia sat me at a table in the back, next to distant cousins I barely knew. Julian danced with his mother all night. Olivia did too. But they never asked me to dance. I left early. No one noticed I was gone. After the wedding, I thought Olivia would mature, that she'd build her life with Julian, that I could finally rest a bit. But that's not what happened. 2 years into the marriage, Olivia got pregnant. She was excited. Julian, too. I was going to be a grandmother. But Olivia lost the baby at 4 months. It was devastating for her. And for me, too. I went to the hospital. I stayed with her all night. I held her hand while she cried. I told her everything would be okay, that she could try again. Julian was not there. He said he had to work, that he could not miss an important meeting. Olivia made excuses for him. She said I did not understand the pressure of his job. After that loss, Olivia changed. She became more bitter, more demanding. She started spending money on unnecessary things. Clothes she never wore. Expensive decorations for the house. Trips that only numbed her problems for a few days. And I kept paying. 3 years ago, Olivia and Julian decided to buy a house. A big house in an exclusive neighborhood. I did not have the money to help them with the down payment. But I took out another loan. I put my own apartment up as collateral. And I gave them $50,000. Olivia cried when I gave her the check. She hugged me. She told me I was the best mom in the world, that she would never forget it. But she did forget. As soon as they moved into that house, I stopped existing for her again. She only called when she needed me to water her plants while they were on vacation, or when she needed to borrow money for some new piece of furniture. I kept saying yes, because that's what mothers do. They keep saying yes, even when they should say no. I finished my coffee. It was cold by now. I looked out the window. The sun was fully up. The city was awake, and so was I. But this time, I woke up different. This time, I woke up with my eyes wide open. I got up from the table and walked to my room. I took an old notebook from the drawer. I opened it to a blank page, and I started writing. I wrote down every dollar I had given Olivia in the last 20 years. Every loan, every gift, every bill I paid for her. The numbers were terrifying. Over $300,000. $300,000 that I earned scrubbing floors, washing clothes, working until my hands bled. And in return, I got a necklace thrown on the floor. I closed the notebook. I took a deep breath. And in that moment, I made the final decision. I was no longer going to remember my daughter with blind love. I was going to remember her with clarity. Monday morning, I went to the bank. It was a normal day. The sky was gray. The streets were full of people heading to work. I had my old purse slung over my shoulder and walked with a steady pace. I was 72 years old, but my legs still worked. I walked into the bank at 9 o'clock sharp. The air conditioning hit my face. I sat in the waiting area and watched the people around me. Young people looking at their phones. Men in suits reviewing documents. No one paid any attention to me. To them, I was just another old woman running boring errands. But what I was about to do was not boring. When they called my name, I got up and followed the bank employee to her desk. She was a young woman, maybe 30, hair pulled back. Professional smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Thompson. How can I help you today?" I took out my ID and placed it on the desk. "I'm here to cancel the additional credit cards linked to my main account." The employee blinked. "The additional cards? Are you sure?" "Completely sure." She typed something into her computer. "I see you have 2 additional cards. One in the name of Olivia Miller and another for Julian Miller. Do you want to cancel both?" "Yes, both." "May I ask the reason?" I looked her directly in the eyes. "They are no longer necessary." The employee nodded slowly. "All right. I just need you to sign here and here." She passed me some documents. I signed without hesitation. "All set," she said. "The cards will be canceled within 24 hours. "Thank you." I stood up and walked out of the bank. The first step was done, but I did not stop there. I went straight to the insurance agency. It was a small office 3 blocks from the bank. The agent was an older man who had known me for years. Mr. Davis. Always polite, always proper. "Eleanor," he greeted me when I walked in. "What a surprise to see you. Everything all right?" "Everything is fine, Mr. Davis. I'm here to make some changes to my policies." "Of course, tell me what you need." I pulled out a copy of the policy for Julian's car. It was in his name, but I was the policyholder. I paid the premium every month. "I want to cancel this policy," I said. Mr. Davis took the document and reviewed it. He frowned. "Are you sure? This is a new car. If you cancel the insurance and he keeps driving it, he could get into serious trouble." "I know. And you're okay with that?" "Completely." Mr. Davis looked at me with curiosity, but he did not ask any more questions. "All right. Give me a moment." He typed on his computer. "The cancellation will be effective as of next month. Is that fine?" "Perfect." I signed the necessary papers and left the office. The second step was done. I returned to my apartment around noon. I made myself a simple sandwich and sat down at my laptop. I opened my email. I had a message from the management office for Olivia's neighborhood. It was a reminder for the monthly payment. $3,200. I was the cosigner. If Olivia did not pay, the bank would charge me. And I always ended up paying, because she'd say she was a little short that month, that she'd pay me back next month. She never paid me back. I replied to the email. I requested a meeting with the property manager. They gave me an appointment for Wednesday. I closed the laptop and lay down on the sofa. My body was tired, not from physical exertion, but from the emotional weight of everything I was doing. But I could not stop. That night, I could not sleep well. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what was coming, thinking about how Olivia would react when she started to realize. Wednesday arrived quickly. I went to the management office for the house. It was a sleek building downtown, marble floors, a receptionist in a uniform, all very professional. They showed me into a conference room. The manager was a man in his 50s, gray suit, impeccable tie. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, shaking my hand. "A pleasure to finally meet you. You are the co-signer for the property on Pine Street, correct?" "That's right. How can I help you?" I took out the documents I had prepared. "I want to remove myself as the co-signer." The manager raised his eyebrows. "I see. Are the homeowners in agreement?" "They don't need to be. According to the contract, I can remove myself as co-signer with 60 days' notice. I just need to notify you in writing." The manager checked the documents. Then he checked something on his computer. "You are correct. Clause 7. You can do that. But I must inform you that if you withdraw as co-signer and the homeowners cannot find a replacement in those 60 days, the bank may demand the full payment of the mortgage or begin foreclosure proceedings." "I'm aware. And you are okay with that?" "Yes." The manager looked at me for a long time. "May I ask if there is a family issue?" I gave a small smile. "That's not relevant to this transaction." He nodded. Very well. Let me process this. He took my documents, scanned them, and handed me a stamped copy. Done. The official notification will be sent to the homeowners in the coming days. Thank you. I left that office feeling lighter. Another step completed. I went home and made myself some tea. I sat by the window and watched the street. Kids were playing outside. Mothers watched them from their doorways. Life went on, and so did mine. But there was something else I needed to do. Something that had been bothering me since the night of the party. I needed to know exactly what Olivia and Julian thought of me. That night, I waited until 11. I knew Olivia posted everything on her social media. Every expensive meal, every trip, every unnecessary purchase. All documented for the world to see how well she was living. I opened my laptop and looked up her profile. We were not friends on social media. She had unfriended me years ago, saying I made embarrassing comments. But her profile was public. I checked her recent posts. Photos from the party, her smiling with her friends, Julian with his champagne flute. The house decorated like something out of a magazine, but there were no photos with me. I did not exist in her public life. I kept scrolling. And then I found it. A comment thread on an old photo. A friend of Olivia's had asked why she never invited her mom to her events. Olivia's reply froze my blood. My mom is complicated. She always wants to be the center of attention. It's just better to keep her at a distance. I read those words 3 times. 4, 5. I never asked for attention. I never asked for anything. I only gave and gave and gave. And this is how she repaid me. I closed the laptop. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness, from contained rage. But I did not explode. I did not scream. I did not cry. I just took a deep breath and let that anger turn into something more useful. Cold determination. The next day, I called my old friend Sharon. We did not talk often, but she had always been loyal, always been honest with me. We met at a small cafe near the market. Sharon arrived with her usual warm smile. We hugged. We ordered coffee. "Eleanor," she said after a moment, "you look different." "Different how?" "I don't know." "More serious." "More." "Decided." I gave a small smile. "I'm making some changes in my life." "What kind of changes?" I told her everything. The party, the necklace, the humiliation. And what I was doing now. Sharon listened in silence. When I finished, she put her hand on mine. "It's about time," she said simply. "Do you think I'm doing the right thing?" "Eleanor, you have given your entire life for that girl, and she has treated you like garbage. Yes, you are doing the right thing." Her words gave me the confirmation I needed. That night, I went home and took out my notebook again. I made a list of everything I still needed to do. Cancel automatic transfers. Talk to my lawyer about the will. Remove my name from any joint documents. The list was long, but I had time, and I had determination. I went to bed that night, knowing there was no turning back. The abyss was already open, and Olivia did not even realize she was about to fall into it. On Thursday morning, I woke up with a clear purpose. There were no more doubts, no more guilt, only the execution of the plan. I got dressed in comfortable clothes, grabbed my purse, and headed downtown. I had an appointment with Mr. Mason, an attorney Sharon had recommended years ago. His office was in an old but well-maintained building. I walked up the stairs to the 3rd floor. The receptionist showed me in immediately. Mr. Mason was a man in his 60s, gray hair, thick glasses. He had the look of someone who has seen all kinds of family tragedies. "Mrs. Thompson," he greeted me, shaking my hand. "Please, sit down. How can I help you?" I took out all the documents I had prepared. Bank statements, contracts, transfer receipts. Everything was organized in folders by year. "I need to revise my will," I said directly. "And I need to protect my assets." Mr. Mason took the documents and began reviewing them in silence. His eyebrows raised every time he turned a page. After several minutes, he set the papers on his desk and looked at me. "Mrs. Thompson, you have invested a considerable amount of money in your daughter and son-in-law. I know. And now you want to withdraw all that support? Yes. May I ask what happened? I told him the whole story, from the necklace to the social media comments. Mr. Mason listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded slowly. I understand. What you want to do is completely legal. You have every right to manage your assets as you see fit. No one can force you to continue supporting adults who are capable of working. Exactly. Now, the lawyer continued, I need you to understand the consequences. If you remove yourself as co-signer for the house and they cannot pay the mortgage, they will lose the property. If you cancel the cards and insurance, they will have to find their own options. This can create a very serious conflict. I don't care anymore. Mr. Mason looked at me with something that looked like respect. All right. Then let's begin. First, we'll modify your will. Currently, according to this document from 5 years ago, your sole heir is Olivia Miller. Do you wish to change that? Yes. I want to leave everything to a foundation for elderly women, or divide it among charities. Anything but leave it to her. Understood. I will draft the new will this week. I also recommend we revoke any power of attorney she might have over you. Power of attorney? Mr. Mason checked the documents again. Here's one. Signed 3 years ago. It gives your daughter authority to make medical and financial decisions if you are incapacitated. I felt a chill. I did not remember signing that, but then I did. It was after I had a fall at home. Olivia insisted it was necessary, just in case something worse happened. I signed without reading it properly. Cancel it, I said firmly. We will do that today. We spent the next hour reviewing every document, every contract, every agreement. Mr. Mason took notes on a yellow legal pad. Occasionally he asked technical questions, which I answered as best I could. When we finished, he leaned back in his chair. Mrs. Thompson, all of this will take about 2 weeks to complete. Legal documents need time to be processed. But once they are ready, you will be completely independent. No member of your family will have access to your decisions or your assets. Perfect. One last thing, Mr. Mason added. I recommend you open a new bank account at a different bank and transfer your savings there. If your daughter has access to your current account information, it's better to be safe. I had not thought of that. But it made sense. I'll do it tomorrow. I left the lawyer's office feeling strangely calm. Every step I took moved me further away from the woman I had been. The woman who said yes to everything. The woman who let herself be, walked all over. That woman no longer existed. On Friday, I went to another bank. One on the other side of town. I opened a new account in my name only. I transferred all my savings. It was $52,000. It was not much after a lifetime of work, but it was mine. As I did the transfer, I thought about how many times Olivia had borrowed money, how many times she promised to pay it back, how many times I ended up forgiving the debt because I did not want to pressure her. Never again. I returned home that afternoon and sat down at my computer. I went into my online banking. There were 3 automatic payments set up, one for Olivia's house payment, another for Julian's car payment, and a third for a gym membership Olivia used. I canceled all of them. Click, click, click. Each cancellation was a release. On Saturday, Sharon invited me to her house for lunch. She made chicken, stew, rice, and green beans. Simple, delicious food. It had been years since I had enjoyed a meal like that without worrying about how much it cost or if I should be saving to pay for something of Olivia's. You look better, Sharon told me as she served dessert. More peaceful. I feel better. Does she know what you're doing yet? Not yet. The notifications from the bank and the management office will arrive next week. Sharon nodded. And what are you going to do when she calls? Not answer. And if she comes to your house? I'd thought about that. Then I'll tell her the same thing I told her at the party. It's over. There's nothing more to discuss. It's going to get hard, Eleanor. I know, but I don't care anymore. Sharon took my hand. I'm here, whatever you need. Her words gave me strength. On Sunday, I decided to do something I had not done in years. I went to the park. I sat on a bench under a large tree and watched the families pass by, children running, parents chasing them, grandparents pushing strollers. I wondered what my life would have been like if Michael had not died, if we had grown old together, if Olivia had grown up with both parents. Maybe things would have been different. Or maybe not. Maybe Olivia was always going to be who she was. Someone who valued appearances more than people. Someone who measured love in dollars. I stayed in the park until the sun began to set. Then I walked back home. My legs ached a little. My back, too. But my mind was clear. That night, before sleeping, I checked my phone. No messages from Olivia. No calls. Nothing. To her, I was still invisible. But that was about to change. Monday started quietly. I woke up early as usual, made my coffee, sat by the window. Everything seemed normal, but I knew that at some point this week, Olivia would receive the notifications. The bank would inform her of my withdrawal as co-signer. The insurance company would confirm the cancellation of the car policy. The credit cards would stop working. And then, it would all begin. I spent the morning cleaning my apartment. Not because it was dirty, but because I needed to keep my hands busy. I washed the dishes. I swept the floor. I organized my closet. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my phone rang. It was a number I did not recognize. I did not answer. I let it go to voicemail. Minutes later, it rang again. The same number. I did not answer. Then I received a text message. It was from Olivia. "Mom, I need to talk to you. Urgent. Call me." I did not reply. Another message arrived 5 minutes later. "Mom, the bank sent me a letter. It says you removed yourself as co-signer. What does that mean?" I did not reply. Then another. "Mom, answer me." I turned off the phone. I sat on the sofa and took a deep breath. My hands were not shaking. My heart was beating normally. I was surprisingly calm, because this was what I had planned. This was what needed to happen. Olivia had to feel what I had felt for years. The uncertainty, the powerlessness, the abandonment. I turned the phone on an hour later. I had 17 missed calls and 32 messages, all from Olivia. I read them one by one. At first, they were confused, then desperate, then angry. "What is wrong with you? Why are you doing this?" "Mom, if this is about the party, I already said I was sorry. I did not remember any apology. I need you to talk to me. Julian says you're crazy." That last line made me smile. Crazy. After everything I did for them, now I was the crazy one. Perfect. I'd let them think that. That night, I slept better than I had in years. Because finally, I was taking control. And they were beginning to understand that they no longer had power over me. Tuesday morning, I went to the market just like every day. I bought fresh vegetables, some chicken, rice, the basics. While I waited in line, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I did not take it out. I knew who it was. When I got home, I checked the messages. There were over 50 now. Olivia was panicking. Julian had started texting me too. His messages were different. More calculated. More fake. "Eleanor, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We can talk about this as a family. Eleanor, Olivia is very distressed. I don't understand what happened. Please, answer. We are your family." Family. That word seemed so hollow to me now. Empty, like a shell with nothing inside. I did not reply to any of them. Instead, I called Mr. Mason. "Mrs. Thompson," he greeted me. "I was just about to call you. The new will is ready, and the document revoking the power of attorney is too. You can come in and sign them tomorrow." "Yes, I'll be there at 9. "Perfect. I also prepared a formal letter notifying your daughter of these changes. By law, she must be informed that she is no longer an heir or has authority over your decisions. Send it. Are you sure? This will make things very real, very fast." "I'm sure." I hung up and made myself some tea. I sat by the window. The sky was overcast. It looked like it was going to rain. I thought about everything I was doing, about how it would look from the outside. A mother taking everything away from her daughter, abandoning her in her time of need. But no one knew the whole story. No one knew the years of humiliation, the ignored sacrifices, the despised love. No one except me. And that was enough. On Wednesday, I went to Mr. Mason's office. I signed all the documents: the new will, the revocation of power, the formal notifications. My hand moved firmly over each page. No doubts. No tremors. All set, the lawyer said when I finished. Everything is in order. The certified letters will be sent today. Olivia will receive them in 2 or 3 days. Thank you. I left the office feeling another weight lift. Every document signed was a chain broken. Every notification sent was a step toward my freedom. That afternoon, as I walked down the street back home, I saw a young mother with her little daughter. The girl looked to be about 5 years old. She wore a pink dress and shoes that were already dirty from the park. The mother was gently wiping the girl's face as she laughed. I stopped to watch them for a moment. I remembered when Olivia was like that. Small, innocent, when she looked at me like I was her whole world. When did it all change? Was it my fault? Did I give her too much? Did I teach her that she did not have to value anything because there would always be more? Maybe. Or maybe some people are just born without the capacity for gratitude. I kept walking. On Thursday, I received a call from the bank. It was the employee I had spoken with days before. Mrs. Thompson, I'm just calling to confirm that the cancellations were processed correctly. The additional cards are inactive, and we received your request to be removed as co-signer. Thank you. I must also inform you that the homeowners came to the bank yesterday. They asked if there was any way to reverse your decision. My heart gave a small jump. And what did you tell them? That only you can reverse it. And that if they do not find a new co-signer in 45 days, the bank will review their ability to pay. If they don't qualify on their own, they will have to sell the property or face foreclosure. I understand. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, that's all. I hung up and stared at the phone. So they had gone to the bank. They had tried to fix it without talking to me first. Typical. Always looking for the easy solution, never facing the real problem. Friday afternoon, as I was making dinner, someone knocked on my door. My heart sped up. I knew who it was. I walked to the door slowly. I looked through the peephole. It was Olivia. She was alone. Her face looked tired. Eyes puffy, hair uncombed. Very different from the perfectly put-together woman from the party. She knocked again. Harder. Mom, I know you're in there. Please, I need to talk to you. I did not open the door. Mom, please. I don't understand what's happening. The bank says you pulled our backing. The cards aren't working. We got a letter from a lawyer. What does all this mean? Her voice sounded genuinely confused, as if she truly did not understand why I was doing this. And maybe she did not. Maybe for her, everything I had done for years was so normal that she never even registered it as a sacrifice. Mom, if I did something to upset you, I'm sorry. But this is too much. Julian and I can't afford the house on our own. The bank is going to take everything. I stood on the other side of the door, listening. Every word, every plea. But they did not move me. Please, Olivia continued, her voice starting to break. You can't do this to us. We're your family. Family. There was that word again. Mom, open the door, please. I counted to 10. Then I spoke. My voice sounded colder than I expected. Go away, Olivia. There was silence on the other side. Mom, go away. There's nothing to talk about. What do you mean there's nothing to talk about? You're taking everything from us. I'm not taking anything from you. I'm simply no longer giving it to you. It's the same thing. No, it's not. Mom, please. Open the door. Let's talk like adults. No. Mom. I said no, Olivia. And if you don't leave now, I'm going to call the police. Another long silence. Then I heard her footsteps moving away, going down the stairs, the front door of the building closing. I stepped away from the door and sat on the sofa. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, from adrenaline. I had faced my daughter, and I had not caved. I could not eat that night. I sat in the darkness of my living room, thinking, was I being too harsh? Should I at least hear her out? What if she was truly sorry? But then I remembered the necklace on the floor, the laughter of her friends, Julian's ironic smile, the years of contempt disguised as jokes. No, she had years to value me. to thank me, to treat me with dignity, and she did not. Now it was too late. On Saturday, Sharon came to visit. I told her about Olivia's visit. "And what did you feel?" she asked. "Nothing," I answered honestly. I expected to feel guilt or sadness, but I felt nothing. "That's good, Eleanor. It means you're healing. Or does it mean I've become cold?" "No, it means you finally set boundaries. And boundaries don't make you cold. They make you strong." Her words gave me peace. On Sunday, I got a message from Julian. It was long, calculated, full of carefully chosen words. "Eleanor, I know things have been tense. And I understand Olivia may have said some hurtful things. But she's under a lot of stress. You know how she gets when she's pressured. She doesn't mean it. I've spoken with her. She is willing to formally apologize. Can the three of us meet? As a family. And resolve this." I read the message 3 times. It was perfect, manipulative, painting Olivia as the victim of stress, minimizing what she did, offering an empty apology in exchange for me paying their bills again. I deleted the message without replying. The next week was quiet. No more visits, no more calls. Just occasional messages that I ignored. Olivia was starting to understand that I was serious. And Julian was starting to understand that he had lost his source of easy money. Mr. Mason called me on Wednesday. "Mrs. Thompson, the certified letters were received. Your daughter signed the receipt yesterday. And what's next?" "Nothing. The documents are legal and binding. You are completely independent. Your daughter has no rights to your assets or your decisions." "Thank you, Mr. Mason. How do you feel?" It was an odd question coming from a lawyer, but I appreciated it. "Free," I replied, and it was true. For the first time in decades, I was completely free. I went to bed early that night. I closed my eyes, and I dreamed of the future. A future where I was not the sacrificial mother, but simply Eleanor, a 72-year-old woman who still had life left to live and who was finally going to live it for herself. 2 weeks passed in silence. 2 weeks in which my phone stopped ringing, in which the desperate messages dwindled to nothing. It was as if Olivia and Julian had finally accepted that I was not going to change my mind. But I knew better. This was the calm before the storm. During those 2 weeks, I kept my routine. I went to the market. I visited Sharon. I walked in the park. I read books I had bought years ago and never had time to finish. I was discovering who I was, without the weight of being the mother who gave everything. And I liked this woman. On Thursday afternoon, as I was returning from the market, I saw a car parked in front of my building. It was Julian's car. A red sports car, the one I had stopped insuring weeks ago. My heart sped up, but I kept walking with a steady pace. When I reached the entrance, Julian got out of the car. He was wearing a gray suit, hair perfectly styled, that fake smile I knew so well. "Eleanor," he greeted me, as if we were old friends. "What a coincidence running into you." "A coincidence, of course. What do you want, Julian?" "Just to talk. 5 minutes, I promise." I looked at him. There was something different about him. His smile did not reach his eyes. There was tension in his shoulders. "I have nothing to talk to you about. Please. It's not for me. It's for Olivia. She's in a bad way, Eleanor. She's not sleeping, not eating right. She's depressed. That is not my problem." Julian blinked, as if he could not believe what I had just said. "How can you say that? She's your daughter." My daughter threw a gift in my face and called me ridiculous in front of 50 people. My daughter has not treated me with respect in years. So yes, Julian, she is no longer my problem. Julian changed his tactic. The smile vanished. His voice became more serious. "Look, I know Olivia messed up. I know it, and she knows it too. But what you're doing is too much. They're going to take the house. I can't afford the car payments. I lost a major contract because I couldn't get to my meetings on time. Buy a cheaper car. Take the bus. Work harder. It's not that simple." "Of course it is. It's exactly what I did for 50 years. Julian clenched his jaw. The mask was slipping. "We're not like you, Eleanor. We have a standard of living. Social obligations. We can't just downgrade like that." There it was. The truth, finally coming out. They were not like me. They were better, more important. And I was just the old woman who was supposed to keep paying to maintain their illusion. Go away, Julian. Eleanor, please, be reasonable. I was reasonable for 20 years. It's over. And what about your grandchild? I froze. What grandchild? Julian smiled. But it was a cruel, victorious smile. Olivia is pregnant. 3 months. We were going to tell you at the party, but after your little scene we decided to wait. I felt something twist inside me. A grandchild. I was going to have a grandchild, but then I looked into Julian's eyes. And I saw the manipulation. The strategy. This was not news shared with love. This was a card played at the perfect moment. Congratulations, I said coldly. I hope you'll be good parents. Julian's smile faltered. That's it? You don't care about your grandchild? I'll care when it's born, and when it's old enough to decide if it wants to know me. But I'm not going to let you use it as a bargaining chip. You're unbelievable, Julian said, his voice now full of venom. You're a bitter, selfish old woman. Olivia is right. You've always been a dead weight in our lives. Those words should have hurt me. A month ago, they would have shattered me. But now, they only confirmed what I already knew. Goodbye, Julian. I turned and walked into the building. I heard him shout something else behind me, but I paid no attention. I walked up the stairs. I entered my apartment. I locked the door. I sat on the sofa and took a deep breath. A grandchild. I was going to be a grandmother. And instead of joy, I felt empty. Because I knew that baby would be used as a weapon, as an excuse, as a reason for me to go back to being the woman who gave everything and received nothing. I was not going to let that happen. That night, I called Sharon and told her what happened. And how do you feel? She asked. Confused, sad, but also sure of my decision. It's normal to feel all of that. Eleanor, a baby is a blessing. But you can't let them use it to manipulate you. I know. But it hurts. Love always hurts, but self-respect hurts less. She was right. The next few days were strangely quiet. No more visits, no more messages. It was as if Julian and Olivia had finally accepted defeat. But I knew better. They were planning something. I could feel it. On Tuesday morning, as I was drinking my coffee, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I normally did not answer, but something told me I should this time. Hello. Eleanor Thompson? Yes. This is General Hospital. Your daughter Olivia Miller was admitted this morning. You are listed as her emergency contact. My heart stopped. What happened? She had an episode of high blood pressure. She's stable now, but the doctor wants to speak with the family about her pregnancy. Can you come? I hung up the phone with trembling hands. Olivia was in the hospital, pregnant, with high blood pressure. I should run to the hospital. That's what a normal mother would do. But I was not a normal mother anymore. I got dressed slowly. I grabbed my purse, and I walked to the hospital. But not with desperation, with caution, because I knew this could also be part of their plan. And I was no longer the woman who was easy to manipulate, not anymore. I arrived at the hospital 40 minutes later. I did not run. I did not take a taxi. I walked to the bus stop and waited patiently. If it was a real emergency, the doctors were attending to her. If it was a setup, my rushing would only give them more power. I walked in through the main doors. The smell of disinfectant hit me immediately. I walked to the front desk and gave Olivia's name. The nurse checked her computer. Room 312, 3rd floor. I took the stairs. My legs protested, but I did not stop. When I reached the 3rd floor, I saw Julian in the hallway. He was on the phone. When he saw me, he hung up quickly. Eleanor. You came. How is she? Stable. It was a scare. Her pressure spiked this morning. The doctor says it's from the stress. Stress. Of course. And I was the cause of the stress, according to them. Can I see her? Julian hesitated. She's sleeping. The doctor gave her a mild sedative. Then I'll wait. I sat in one of the chairs in the hallway. Julian stood there, uncomfortable. He did not know what to do with me. This version of me was new to him. The one who did not jump to obey. The one who did not apologize for existing. Eleanor, he started after a moment. I know things are bad between us, but this is serious. The doctor says if Olivia doesn't reduce her stress level, she could lose the baby. There it was. The guilt. The responsibility placed on my shoulders again. Stress can be reduced in many ways, Julian. Maybe if you two got stable jobs and stopped living beyond your means, Olivia would be calmer. Julian clenched his fists. We do work, but without your help, it's not enough. Then adjust your spending. It's not that easy. I know. I did it for 50 years. Julian looked at me with pure hatred, but he did not say anything else. He walked away toward the coffee machine down the hall. I sat there, looking at the door to room 312. Inside was my daughter, pregnant, at risk, and I felt less than I expected to feel. Maybe I was a bad person. Maybe I was an unnatural mother, as Julian had called me. Or maybe I was just tired. Tired of being the villain in a story where I had only tried to love. A nurse came out of the room. She saw me and approached. Are you Olivia's mother? Yes. You can go in. She's awake now. But just for a few minutes. She needs to rest. I stood up and walked into the room. Olivia was lying in the bed. She looked small, fragile. She had monitors connected to her arm. Her hair was loose and disheveled. When she saw me, her eyes filled with tears. Mom. I approached the bed. But I kept my distance. I did not sit. I did not take her hand. How do you feel? Awful. I'm scared. The doctor says my pressure is too high. That it could be dangerous for the baby. I nodded. And what are you going to do? Olivia looked at me, confused. What am I going to do? I need you to help me, Mom. I can't go through this alone. You're not alone. Julian is here. You know what I mean. I need your support. Financial, too. We can't pay for the medical bills without insurance. There it was again. Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry I treated you badly. Just I need your money. Olivia. Have you ever apologized to me? She blinked. What? For the necklace. For throwing it in my face. For humiliating me in front of everyone. Have you ever once apologized? Olivia looked away. Mom, I was upset that day. You know how I get when there are a lot of people. It wasn't personal. You called me ridiculous. You said my gift was junk. How was that not personal? You're exaggerating. No, I'm not. I'm remembering exactly what happened. Olivia started to cry. I can't believe you're doing this now. I'm in the hospital, pregnant, at risk, and you just want to fight. I don't want to fight. I want a sincere apology. I already said I was sorry. No, you didn't. Julian told me you were willing to apologize if I started helping you again. That's not an apology. That's a transaction. Olivia closed her eyes. Tears streamed down her cheeks. You're cruel. I always thought you were weak, but you're actually cruel. Her words should have hurt, but they only confirmed what I already knew. For Olivia, I only had two versions, weak and useful, or cruel and useless. There was no middle ground, where I could just be a person with boundaries. I hope you recover, Olivia, and I hope your baby is born healthy, but I am not going to be your source of money again. And if I lose the baby because of you? The question cut through me, but I kept my voice steady. If you lose the baby, it will be a tragedy, but it will not be my fault. It will be the consequence of decisions you and Julian made. Of the life you chose to live, without being able to afford it. Get out of here. Gladly. I turned and walked to the door. Before I left, I turned back one more time. Olivia, when you're ready to have a real conversation, when you're ready to see me as a person and not a bank, I'll be available. But not before. I left the room and closed the door. Julian was in the hallway. He approached me immediately. What did you say to her? Why is she crying? I told her the truth. You. Be careful what you say, Julian. We're in a hospital. There are cameras, witnesses. Julian stopped. His face was red with fury, but he said nothing more. I walked to the elevator. I went down to the first floor. I walked out of the hospital. The sun was high. It was noon. Life went on outside, as always, And I was continuing on, too. I took the bus back home. I sat by the window and watched the city go by. Families walking, children playing. The world had not stopped because my relationship with my daughter was broken, and I was not going to stop, either. When I got home, I made myself something to eat. Rice with vegetables. Simple. I sat and ate in silence. My phone rang. It was Sharon. "How are you?" I told her everything. The hospital call, the conversation with Olivia, the lack of a real apology. "You did the right thing," Sharon told me. "You can't let them manipulate you using the baby." But what if something happens to her? What if they really do lose the baby? "Eleanor, listen to me. You are not responsible for the consequences of their decisions. They built an unsustainable life. You just stopped holding it up. That doesn't make you a bad mother. It makes you human." Her words gave me peace. That night, I slept restlessly. I dreamed of babies crying, of empty hospitals, of Olivia calling for me and me not being able to get there in time. I woke up at 4 a.m, my heart racing, but I did not call. I did not run to the hospital. I stayed in my bed. I took a deep breath. And I reminded myself that I was no longer the woman who saved everyone else while drowning herself. I was the woman who had finally learned to swim. Olivia left the hospital 3 days later. I knew because Sharon told me. She had seen Julian posting on social media about how hard it was to care for a pregnant wife with no family support. It was his way of painting me as the villain to the world. I did not care. Another week passed. Then 2. The silence continued. I went on with my life. I had started taking a knitting class at the community center. I met other women my age. We shared stories, laughter, coffee. No one judged me. No one expected anything from me. It was liberating. On Friday afternoon, as I was returning from my class, I found a manila envelope taped to my apartment door. There was no return address, just my name, handwritten. I opened it cautiously. Inside were legal documents. A lawsuit. Olivia and Julian were suing me for familial abandonment and failure to provide support, demanding I continue the financial support under threat of public exposure and seeking a court order. I read each page with growing disbelief. They actually believed they could legally force me to support them. I immediately called Mr. Mason. "Don't worry, Mrs. Thompson," he said after reviewing the documents I sent him photos of. "This has no legal basis whatsoever. Adult children are not entitled to maintenance from their parents, especially when they are capable of working. It's an intimidation tactic. What should I do? I will handle it. We will respond formally, and if they want to take this to court, we will. But I warn you, if we go to trial, everything will come out. The years you supported them, the evidence of their ingratitude, everything. So be it. Are you sure? It will be public, painful. I'm sure." I hung up the phone and sat on the sofa. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from rage, from indignation. How dare they, after everything I did, after every sacrifice, now they were suing me? But then something inside me shifted. The rage turned into clarity. They had given me exactly what I needed. A reason to expose everything publicly. If they wanted a war, they would get one. That night, I pulled out all the evidence I had saved for years. Bank statements, transfers, receipts, text messages where Olivia asked me for money, emails, everything. I organized it all into digital folders. I took pictures, I made backups, and I waited. On Monday, Mr. Mason filed our response to the lawsuit. But we also included a countersuit for the unpaid loans. Over $200,000 that I had loaned them over the years, with promises of repayment that never came. The response from Olivia and Julian was immediate. Julian called me. His voice was furious. "How dare you? Now you're suing us? You started this, Julian. I'm just defending myself. Those loans were gifts. You never expected us to pay you back. Do you have that in writing?" Because I have text messages where Olivia promised to pay me back every dime, and she never did. Julian went silent. "Withdraw the lawsuit, Julian. Or this is going to get very ugly. Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm warning you. If this goes to trial, everything will come out. Every lie, Every manipulation. Every time you used me and threw me away. Do you really want the world to know what kind of people you are? Julian hung up. 2 days later, I received a message from Olivia. It was a long audio file. Her voice sounded tired, defeated. Mom, I don't know what else to do. Julian says you're destroying us. That you're a resentful woman who wants to see us suffer. I don't want to believe that. But I don't understand what you want from me. I already apologized. What else do I have to do? Get on my knees? Beg you? I have no pride if that's what you're looking for. I'm pregnant. I'm scared. And my own mother has abandoned me. I listened to the audio 3 times, and I felt nothing, because it was not an apology. It was victim blaming. It was emotional manipulation wrapped in soft words. I did not reply. On Thursday, Mr. Mason called. Mrs. Thompson, they want to negotiate. They're offering to drop their lawsuit if you drop yours. No. Are you sure? We could end this here. I don't want to end it here. I want it to go to trial. Why? Because they need to understand that their actions have consequences. For years, they've treated me like I'm invisible, like my only purpose was to give them money. I want a judge to tell them, publicly, that they are wrong. The lawyer sighed. I understand. Then we will prepare everything for trial. The following weeks were intense. Meetings with the lawyer, preparing evidence, written declarations. Julian tried to contact me several times. Olivia too. They offered different versions of apologies, different promises, different pleas, all of them empty, all of them too late. Sharon came with me to every meeting. She held my hand when the emotions threatened to overwhelm me. She reminded me why I was doing this. It's not revenge, she told me. It's justice. It's setting boundaries. It's teaching them they can't treat people this way. A week before the trial, I received an unexpected call. It was Julian's mother. We had never had much of a relationship. She had always looked down on me, as if I were inferior to her family. Eleanor, she said in a cold voice, we need to talk. Go ahead. My son told me about the situation. I think you're being dramatic. Olivia is young. She made a mistake. But what you are doing is excessive. Dramatic? Your son and my daughter sued me first. Because you pushed them to it. You left them with nothing. What did you expect them to do? I expected them to work, like adults do. My son works. Your son lives beyond his means. And he expected me to pay the difference for the rest of my life. Julian's mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that surprised me. You know Olivia could lose the baby from this stress, right? Can you live with that? If Olivia loses the baby, it will be a tragedy. But it won't be because of me. It will be because of the decisions she and her husband made. Because of the life they built on lies and debt. Are you a heartless woman? No. I'm a woman who finally learned to say no. I hung up. The night before the trial, I could not sleep. I sat by the window, looking out at the city. The lights twinkled in the distance. The world kept spinning, and tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow, my story would be heard. Tomorrow, Olivia and Julian would have to face the truth. I lay down around dawn. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in weeks, I did not dream about them. I dreamed about me, walking alone, free, whole. The day of the trial dawned gray. I dressed in a simple brown suit I had bought years ago. I pulled my hair back. I looked in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was different from the one 3 months ago. She had the same age, the same wrinkles, but her eyes were different. There was no pleading in them anymore, only determination. Sharon came to pick me up. We went to the courthouse together. The building was imposing. Concrete steps, tall columns, people coming and going with files under their arms. Mr. Mason was waiting for us at the entrance. Everything is ready. Remember, stay calm. Answer honestly. The truth is on our side. I nodded. We entered the courtroom. Olivia and Julian were already there, sitting with their lawyer. Olivia's belly was prominent now, 5 months pregnant. She looked tired. Julian looked at me with pure hatred. I did not look away. The judge entered. We all rose. He was an older man, in his 60s, with glasses and a serious expression. We will proceed with case number 4532, Thompson versus Miller and Miller. Olivia's lawyer spoke first. He presented his case. He spoke of a daughter abandoned by her mother at a vulnerable time, of a high-risk pregnancy, of the cruelty of withdrawing financial support for no reason. Every word was designed to paint me as a monster. Then Mr. Mason spoke. He presented the evidence. The bank statements, the transfers, the unpaid loans, the text messages where Olivia constantly asked for money, the social media posts where she flaunted luxuries while I lived on the bare minimum. The judge reviewed every document in silence. "Mrs. Eleanor Thompson," he called finally, "you may approach the stand." I stood up. My legs were shaking slightly, but I walked with a firm step. "Ma'am, why did you decide to withdraw financial support from your daughter?" I took a deep breath. Because for years, I was only a source of money for her. I was never her mother. I was never valued. And on her birthday, when I gave her a simple gift, she threw it on the floor and humiliated me in front of everyone. I understood then that I wasn't her family. I was her bank. And you did not consider that she might be in difficulty? I considered that she and her husband are able-bodied adults. I considered that I am 72 years old, that I worked for 50 years in hard jobs, that I sacrificed my entire life, and that I deserved to rest without continuing to be used. The judge nodded. "Mrs. Olivia Miller, please approach." Olivia stood up. She walked to the stand, holding her belly. A perfect performance. "Ma'am, is it true you threw your mother's gift on the floor?" Olivia hesitated. I was stressed that day. There were a lot of people. I didn't mean it. Did you apologize afterward? Silence. "Ma'am, did you apologize to your mother?" Not in those exact words. But she knew that. Answer yes or no. No. The judge reviewed more documents. "I see here you and your husband live in a $400,000 house, that you drive luxury cars, that you spend over $3,000 a month on non-essential expenses. Is that correct?" We work. We have a right to live well. "And how much do you both earn per month?" Olivia's lawyer intervened. "Your Honor, I don't see the relevance." "Answer the question, ma'am." Olivia lowered her voice. "About $5,000. And your mortgage and monthly expenses total $7,000. So you are living beyond your means. And you expected your 72-year-old retired mother to cover that difference indefinitely." It was not a question. It was a statement. Olivia did not answer. The judge took off his glasses and cleaned them slowly. Then he spoke. "I have reviewed all the evidence, and my decision is as follows. This lawsuit has no legal merit. Adult children are not entitled to maintenance from their parents, especially when they are capable of working and have chosen an unsustainable lifestyle. Mrs. Eleanor Thompson has every right to manage her resources as she sees fit." Olivia started to cry. Julian slammed his fist on the table. Furthermore, the judge continued, "I have reviewed Mrs. Thompson's countersuit for unpaid loans, and I find sufficient evidence that these loans existed and were not paid. Therefore, I order Olivia Miller and Julian Miller to pay the sum of $200,000 to Mrs. Eleanor Thompson within a period of no more than 2 years, with monthly payments of $8,000. Julian stood up. "That's impossible. We can't pay that." The judge looked at him coldly. "Then I suggest you sell your assets, adjust your lifestyle, and learn to live within your means." Case closed. The bang of the gavel echoed in the room. We left the courthouse. The sun had finally come out. Sharon hugged me. Mr. Mason was smiling. "We did it, Mrs. Thompson. Justice." I nodded. But I did not feel triumphant. I felt peace. Olivia and Julian came out minutes later. She was crying. He was yelling into his phone. They saw me and walked over. "Are you happy now?" Julian asked. "You destroyed us. We're going to lose everything." "No. You destroyed yourselves. I just stopped holding up your lie." Olivia looked at me with red eyes. "I hate you. I never want to see you again." Her words should have broken me, but they only set me free. "That's fine, Olivia. I don't need to see you, either." I turned around and walked to Sharon's car. I did not look back. The following months were a transformation. Olivia and Julian sold the house. They moved into a small apartment. Julian got a second job. Olivia had to stop spending on luxuries. I never heard from them directly again. My grandchild was born in December. I knew because a distant cousin sent me a photo. He was beautiful. He had Olivia's big eyes from when she was a baby. I cried when I saw that photo. But not from sadness, from acceptance. Maybe one day, when that boy was older, he would come looking for me, and I would be here. But I was not going to beg. I was not going to chase. I had learned the most important lesson of my life. You cannot force anyone to love you, not even your children. I used the money I had left to travel. I went to the beach for the first time in 20 years. I met new people. I made friends. I took more classes. I read books. I lived. One afternoon, while drinking coffee in the park, a woman sat down next to me. She was older than me, maybe 80. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Eleanor Thompson?" "Yes. I read about your case in the newspaper. I just wanted to say, thank you." "Thank you?" "For doing what so many of us are afraid to do. For setting boundaries, for reminding us that we deserve respect, even from our own children." That conversation filled me more than any hug from Olivia in the last 20 years, because I understood something fundamental. I had not lost a daughter. I had gotten my life back. Today, I am 73 years old. I live alone in my small apartment. I do not have luxuries. I do not have a family that visits me every Sunday. But I have peace. I have dignity. I have the freedom to say no. And I have my name back. I am no longer just Olivia's mom. I am no longer just the one who pays. I am Eleanor. And my story is just beginning.